Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We will continue the Committee of the Whole. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the next panel?
We'll have Jeffrey Thompson, Fire Commissioner for Philadelphia Fire Department, and then we'll also bring up Bridget Greenwald, Commissioner for Quality of Life, Department of L&I, and Basil Miranda, Commissioner, Inspection, Safety, and Compliance.
And so the way this is going to work, you'll all give your testimony, and then members of the council will have a chance for the rest of the afternoon to ask questions of both departments. Commissioner, please state your name for the record, and please begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, Council President Johnson and members of council. I'm Jeffrey Thompson, Fire Commissioner. Joining me today are several members of my executive team. The Philadelphia Fire Department continues to provide comprehensive all-hazard risk reduction and emergency response while working to ensure the health and safety of PFD members and supporting the mayor's goal of building mutual trust and safety in city neighborhoods. The fire department's goals for fiscal year 2026 include graduating up to 32 firefighters and paramedics from our technical rescue school, which certifies participants as hazmat technicians and qualifies them to perform specialized rescue operations. And this is going to help us in our current operations as well as to prepare us for 2026. Additionally, we are planning on hiring and training and onboarding 200 emergency medical service providers. We're also going to work with our partners to make critical building repairs at the Fire Academy that will help us to get more cadets through the academy. We're going to continue to conduct intensive recruitment campaigns to attract a diverse candidate pool for the upcoming fire civil service exam. We're going to institute an upskilling program for PFD EMTs to become paramedics. And finally, we will strive to fill non-uniform vacancies in the PFD's administrative, fiscal, and compliance units. And it is my honor and privilege to be here today to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much.
For the record, my name is Basil Miranda. I am responsible for the construction side of Mayor Parker's historic, reorganized, and reinvigorated L&I, better known as L&I's Inspection, Safety, and Compliance Division. Joining me is my senior staff. I'd like to thank Council President Johnson and all the council members for affording me the opportunity to submit testimony on behalf of L&I's ISC division, which formally went into effect on March 5th, 2024. I'm pleased to report that the ISC's first year of operation has been very productive and transformative. First, we made great strides in getting a city department that wholly is dedicated to the oversight of citywide construction projects properly organized and up and running. I can report once and for all that the city has a department focused exclusively on construction development that can be more accessible, responsive, and accountable to the city council, contractors, community groups, labor organizations, neighbors, and on construction projects throughout the city. As the mayor says, we have a city department that you can see, touch, and feel. At the same time, from day one, we ensured that L&I's reorganization on the construction side did not interrupt the essential day-to-day operations of the department, from plans review and inspections to enforcement and customer services, making sure that the trains ran on time, as the old saying goes. Moreover, I'm proud to note that during this time period, ISC addressed two major citywide challenges in a professional, effective, dignified manner, earning the trust and respect of the administration, our fellow city agencies, and the entire city. I just want to point out two priorities, Council President, and I think this is good for the council to know about our goals and objectives for this first year. Number one, recruitment and retention. In October, we welcomed a new class of 20 inspectors with 16 candidates on track to enter the field this summer. Just this past week, we also filled 5 newly designated Audits and Investigation Unit investigators, positions that were funded in last year's budget. And early in March, we were able to bring back a highly experienced inspector who had previously left city service thanks to the recent city service regulation change that allowed the reinstatement of employees in good standing within 5 years. We also improved significantly our enforcement initiatives. We have achieved measurable improvements in addressing problematic contractors, these fly-by-nights, through Audits and Investigation Unit, the Clean Sites Initiative, Saturday patrols, and the complaints units. These efforts have a tangible impact on neighborhoods across the city. And underpinning it all is making the department more accessible, responsive, and accountable to the city council, contractors, all of our stakeholders. A shining example of this effort is this system that we have established with working with members and your respective council staff, such on issues like construction code violations, unsafe structures, substandard workmanship, and unpermitted activity. And also, I want to note for the record, to highlight 2 particularly notable accomplishments by our LSA staff that rose to the occasion. First, our license and inspection plans examiners and district inspectors distinguished themselves with the record time it took to review plans and inspect building construction of the Mayor's Riverview Wellness Center, a key component of the Kensington Initiative. That center is now up and running, servicing folks. Then, on January 31st, on display for the entire city to see, our CSU inspectors did what they do best: inspect unsafe and ID properties. They stepped up, met the horrifying tasks posed by the Northeast plane crash, working all weekend side by side with the city's other first responders, police, fire, and the Office of Emergency Management, along with the federal authorities. So in conclusion, I respectfully ask for the continued support of the council. With your partnership, our tireless work of our ISC staff will ensure that we can bring up a department that is wholly focused on construction projects, large and small, throughout the city. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's have a couple brief questions.
Do you want me to go?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Y'all two.
Remember, two of them.
Y'all split the department, so go ahead, Bridget.
All right, I'll be quick. Good afternoon, Council President Johnson and members of City Council. I'm Bridget Collins Greenwald, the Commissioner of the Department of Licenses and Inspections Quality of Life Department. It is a pleasure to appear before City Council today in support of L&I's fiscal year 26 budget request. As you have our written testimony, which highlights the many accomplishments and plans of the department in front of you, I will not belabor them. QOL has taken on a proactive and collaborative approach to education and enforcement with many newly implemented programs. We coordinate with the PPA and PPD on our very successful PPL program, in which we are out in the neighborhoods every week stopping illegal auto repairs. We coordinate with commerce, community groups, and every district council office on commercial corridor business education and enforcement with our B program. We work with CLIP, Clean and Green, Sanitation, and Streets on the Clean and Green Initiative. These are just a few of the initiatives introduced since the beginning of the change in administration to improve the quality of life in the city. I would like to add one thing that is not in the written testimony, and that is about the QOL team. QOL has many outstanding employees that are super dedicated and care about improving the quality of life for the citizens of Philadelphia. I would like to acknowledge them publicly for their commitment to public service. They are out in every single neighborhood, every single day, providing education and enforcement. They want to see this city thrive. I say it all the time. I'm very proud to work in a place where the employees showed a genuine sense of care and commitment to their profession by following our core mission of responsibly and respectfully serving the community of Philadelphia by providing quality code education and enforcement services. The QOL team is transparent, we're approachable, and we embrace positivity to make this city the safest, cleanest, and greenest large city in the country with economic opportunity for all. We're on the Energy Bus journey, and it is paying off immensely. Thank you for indulging me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And first, I want to thank Commissioner Thompson and his team for partnering with City Council as we embark upon a fire prevention initiatives where we will be distributing fire alarms throughout the 10 councilmatic districts in partnership with our at-large members. So we just want to thank you and your team for being proactive and collaborative as we focus on saving lives here in the city of Philadelphia. Also want to thank Bridget and Basil for your work as you embark upon a new department that has been restructured and reorganized, put it that way, to address quality of life issues as well as making sure we're providing a level of oversight of the construction projects that are taking place across the city of Philadelphia. And thank you for taking my calls at all times of the day and or evening and the timeless response. And also, Bridget, your team worked with me and my staff and the Philadelphia Police Department and Philadelphia Parking Authority to address illegal auto mechanics in Southwest Philadelphia that were taking over a particular shopping plaza that held the tenants there hostage to the reckless quality of life, the reckless work that was being done in terms of bringing down the quality of life of the individuals who were tenants inside that particular shopping center in Southwest Philadelphia. So I just want to thank you very much. And I want to thank you also on behalf of the Southwest Senior Center seniors who were also held hostage in their senior center based upon that work that was being done. So I just want to acknowledge that for the public. And to our Philadelphia firefighters, we thank all of you for your hard work and your dedication. It's not guaranteed when you leave the house in the morning that you will return. So I want to ask that we give them a round of applause because the work that you and your team does, the work that the EMTs does, definitely should be supported. And also, a lot of people, we only think about fires when we think about our firemen and the EMT teams, but also around the issue of gun violence, right? When a person is shot down or murdered in the streets or severely injured, most people may or may not know, separate from the EMTs showing up, you see the fire truck as well. Normally, that's when a person's life is deceased. And so we do thank you for being on the front line when it comes to the issue of gun violence as well. Just had a couple questions. Commissioner Thompson, give me an overview on your strategy for recruitment of Philadelphia firefighters and EMTs. And then also, we know that the civil service exam is administered every 2 years. Is there any way that we can have it done more frequently, maybe once a year, so we can address the need of recruitment of more firefighters and EMTs?
Well, thank you for that question, Council President. In terms of how we recruit, first and foremost, we like to think of our employees, our firefighters and EMTs, as our best advocates for getting the word out about the important work we do. But more formally, what we do is we have a dedicated recruitment unit that canvasses the entire city. We try to target, in particular, underrepresented populations so that we can ensure that our fire department represents the city of Philadelphia as a whole. In addition to that, we have a program at the Randolph School, the Randolph Skills Center. We have a program there. We also have our Fire Explorers program, all designed to introduce younger folks to the profession of professional firefighting and EMTs. In terms of the testing cadence, it's traditionally been 2 years. We have been fortunate in the fire department. We get thousands of applicants every year. And with the length of time that it takes to train a firefighter, which is approximately 9 months, we typically we can usually put 75 cadets through the academy per time. So typically we can get approximately 150 people off those lists out of thousands of people. And then we also have to consider our HR, our internal HR staff. Processing new cadets is a timely, it's a very timely effort. So we have to ensure that in addition to processing potential new recruits, they can still manage the day-to-day work that we have to do. But we will take it under advisement to see if it makes sense to perhaps have the cadence of the tests more frequently.
And last question before I turn over to my members, just give an update regarding the fire academy, the need for repairs regarding the building, and also specifically what's necessary for instructors to conduct live burns required for cadet certification, and also the timeline and support needed for the repairs. And I think one of my colleagues was actually advocating, I think it was chairman of labor, and he'll probably do a deeper dive, which is Councilmember Jim Hardy, but we're all in support of a new academy being built and supported up in the Northeast. But give us an idea of the conditions and the things that's needed, because we want to be advocates and partners in making sure that you have what you need to make sure we have the best and brightest fire cadets graduating and going out to do the great work on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Absolutely. So these careers all began at 5200 Pennypack in the Great Northeast. And that academy was built. The construction started in 1978 with the first class graduating in 1981, I believe. And so if you can imagine from 1981 until today, the amount of times that burn tower has been set on fire. And so it's been quite a bit. And with that, the heat and the water that's thrown around, it has deteriorated that masonry structure over time. And what we've done over the years is basically we've done a lot of patchwork. There's spalling of concrete. Some of the rebar is bent, and it becomes unsafe. So every 5 years, the NFPA requires that these burn towers are inspected. We just had an inspection in 2023. It's pretty comprehensive, and it talked about all of the damage to the tower and what needs to be done to repair it. I have a very detailed list that I can share with you if you need it. And so it has become so bad that our current cadet cohort is being trained in Bucks County because we cannot use our burn tower. So
You said you cannot use your burn tower?
we cannot use our burn tower currently because it is unsafe.
Now explain to the wider public and members of council how the burn tower is used in your operations, the training that takes place with the burn tower, just for the record.
Yep, so for the record, we do structural firefighting. That building is designed to simulate a structure. It's a 5-story building. We can simulate opening roofs and windows, all of the tactics that we use to fight fires. And without being able to utilize that, we cannot adequately train our firefighters. So it is a fundamental part of the training of a professional firefighter.
How long have you not been using it?
I believe this
How long has it been out of operation?
So over the last several years, there have been more than one occasion when we could not use it to train our cadets. And what has happened over the years is we would make temporary repairs. And right now, it's in a state that even the temporary repairs don't make sense. So we literally had to farm out that training.
Okay, and who do you farm out that training to, and the cost?
I can get you the cost,
Can you
but
get
we
that
are.
to me?
Pardon me?
Yeah, can you get that to me, the cost?
Absolutely.
And who does the training as well? Who does the training?
So when we are basically using the facilities of the Bucks County Fire Training Academy, but it's Philadelphia Fire Department employees that are conducting the training. We are just using their facilities. We are still doing the
And they're
training.
charging us?
They do charge us,
Okay,
yes.
I'm quite sure. And so when I say the cost, if you could provide to the chair for members, the cost that we're paying Bucks County to utilize their facility as opposed to us investing in our own facility. And I think that's just a capital investment. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Hardy for a point of information.
I'd added the tower.
Can you speak
Oh,
into the mic,
I'm sorry,
please?
Council President, just wanted them to add in the tower, the cost of fixing that, because we're paying Delco, apparently. Are we paying Delco to train on the tower? That's all.
Yeah, Council President Johnson, we are paying Bucks County $30,000 for the use of their facility.
And how about Delco? We paying them anything for use of the tower?
Yes, if we train Delco, we will pay them as well.
So we're paying other counties basically as opposed to investing in our own.
Yeah, I'd like to be put back in the queue.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, and is that annually that we are paying
That is per class.
per class?
Yes.
How many classes per year?
So because it's 9 months per cadet class, we're typically doing one class per year.
So it's pretty much once a year you're paying them out.
That is correct.
Okay. Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Council President, for the recognition. The question was, really the clarification was, are we paying Bucks County and Delaware County? And then how much and then the frequency? I just couldn't get that straight. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. It depends on what facility we are using. Currently, we are using the Bucks County facility, and it's a one-time cost of $30,000 per class.
Thank you. Just two other questions I'm going to ask for L&I regarding how are we going about monitoring and growing to address, we're focusing on a proposal to build 30,000 units of affordable housing. So half will be the preservation of infrastructure, and there's a particular number that's going to focus on building. And so when you begin ramping up building, you want to make sure that developers are building in compliance, right? And oftentimes, well, you know, every now and then get a call about somebody building in the middle of the night because they didn't properly get their permit. So let's give us an idea of L&I's role with the mayor's proposed home initiative.
Yeah, Council President. It's a two-part approach. First, of course, we have to do plans review, and then we have to inspect the actual building. And we made, with the Riverview Wellness Center, we implemented some very good protocol changes to plans review. And that we may be able to see if we could adapt that to the new 30,000 projects that the mayor wants to build. And then at the same time, we made our inspection staff, because we're kind of short-staffed, we made our inspection staff available almost on a 24-hour basis. Now, I don't think we have to do that for the home program, but we are willing to use, I describe it as overtime strategically to get that all accomplished.
Is
So
there a
we can accomplish that.
Is there a proposal to increase your staff that also aligns with this proposal to build 30,000 units? Because I would think you would need more manpower if you're going to be doing all this significant building in the 10 councilmanic districts in the city of Philadelphia. So is part of your request a specific amount to deal with that? Because you just said I'm short-staffed and
Sure.
you got folks working 24 hours, and if we're going to do MPI on steroids, if we're going to do turn the key on steroids, I would think we would need more manpower from LNI, but explain to me so we can all get a clarity and an understanding on what that will look like.
Our game plan going forward is to first make prudent use of the vacancies that we have. I believe we may have about 20 or so vacancies. So our plan is, once this class gets through, we want to start a new class in October for maybe 10, 12, and then another class after that. And then, of course, we could, pull back, reassess, and see where we are, and see if we need additional inspectors.
Okay, so you are going to be hiring additional inspectors, though, soon.
Yes.
That's part of your budget request?
I believe, we want to work through our vacancies first, Council President.
All right, so you don't have any requests for additional inspectors right now?
No.
All right, so I'm just trying to understand. That's all. I would just think, we're about to embark upon borrowing $1 billion to build 30,000 units of housing / the preservation of units, which means you're going to have developers who are going to be participating aggressively developing these homes, because the mayor stated that she want to get these 30,000 units done by the end of her first term. And her first term is 2027, which means if we pass this bill and we support this proposal, that means starting this summer and going into the fall to meet that 2027 end of her first term deadline to realistically build or preserve 30,000 units, then we got to hit the ground running. And that means a lot of work is going to come out of your purview.
Correct.
And a lot of heavy lifting is going to be on your team just to make sure people are building in compliance. We don't have another 23rd and Market Street incident happening because everyone's aggressively trying to build so fast to reach this goal. And so I would just hope that you and your team would think about, and I don't know how it works on the administration side, but revisit the request, because I would just think that because we're going to undertake such a huge historical undertaking, that an agency such as L&I that deals with compliance of making sure developers are doing what they're supposed to do so no one gets hurt, structures are safe, part of these 30,000 units aren't falling apart as a result of us rushing to reach that deadline, that you will be coming to council requesting additional staff. But if the reasoning is because you have vacancies now, what's your strategy to ramp up hiring folks so you can have a team and be able to tackle this 30,000 units of affordable housing?
Like we did with our first class that's currently in training, we have I call it a full court press. We reached out to contractor associations to see if any of their members, maybe older members that want to kind of move on to put the tools down, as they say. We also reached out to labor unions, the trade unions, and also we're reaching out to the VOTEC programs throughout the city to try to introduce young people to construction trades and introduce them to what L&I is all about and what we do. And we have this investigator position that is a real good entry-level position for young folks that are interested in construction trades. And once they get into L&I, they can develop some skills and then eventually take the test for an inspector position. And then, of course, the overall outreach is also to include an effort to try to attract back to L&I some L&I inspectors who left went to the private sector, who left because of a variety of reasons. And there's a new L&I out there. There's a new culture. So we want to try to bring these folks back like we did with that one really experienced inspector in March. So that's our what I call full court strategy to try to bring back folks to LNI and fill those vacant positions. And I want to thank you for raising the issue about the need for more inspectors. That, hopefully, if the program goes off and is really effective, then we may have to come back and ask for additional inspectors. But for now, we're good where we stand.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner. Give me an idea of, we're talking about demolitions of vacant properties. It takes about an average of 123 days to demolish an eminently dangerous property. How can that timeline be shortened, or is that a legal requirement that the time frame from 123 days is the actual time that it takes to demolish an eminently dangerous property?
Yeah, that is a problem, Council President, and in my opinion, as an attorney, my opinion is that due process considerations, which we have to recognize and we have to respect, it puts an additional time delays on all that, in addition to the fact that we don't have limited resources. But what our folks at CSU would like to do, and CSU, as you know, is focused on inspectors that inspect unsafe and ID properties, and they administer the city's demolition program. And we want to try to focus maybe 2 inspectors on dealing with straightforward demolition type of projects and inspections. And then that would free up the rest of our staff to focus on re-inspections and try to get cases into court to get us the order to demolish these properties much quicker and on a much expedited basis. But, we are up against due process legal proceedings that, in my opinion, delay the process.
Thank you. Let's talk about, Bridget, the Quality of Life Unit. They originally set a goal of resolving vacant open structure violations within 10 days, and it got extended to 30 days. Tell me why we couldn't stick with the 10 days as opposed to 30.
It's actually the same thing that Basil just talked about, the due process point. So we could get to a vacant open property and have it sealed in 10 days, but we're actually, to get the notice out and all that, we realize that it's going to take us 30. We can actually get to it in 10, but to give all those notices, it's 30. So we figured we just shot high with 10, and we put it more realistically at 30.
Okay. And last, before I turn it over to my colleagues, give me an idea about the Business Education and Enforcement Program, but also we have a law on the books. I introduced legislation some time ago to ban the selling of toy guns, right? Unless they're like a super bright orange, green, yellow, but nothing that looks similar to an actual real gun. Just have an interest in working with LNI, Philadelphia Police Department, to begin looking at those stores that aren't really following the law in terms of selling these prototype toy guns. And for me, it's a way to, some of these stores are basically predators in the neighborhood, to be quite frank with you, preying on impoverished neighborhoods, selling to young people in the neighborhood guns that, toy guns that look like real guns. We had an incident that did take place in Point Breeze where a person had a toy gun and wound up being shot, right? And so we'll have a sidebar conversation in the future about how we can collaborate and at least just show up and show folks that if you are selling them, it's against the law that you can't be selling them. But tell me about the Business Education and Enforcement Program.
Sure. We call it the B for short, Business Education and Enforcement. But what we did was when we came in, we went to each district council member's office, yourself included, and we said, what are your pain points? Where are your pain points in your district? And all 10 district council members gave us their first biggest corridor issue. So we were on Frankfurt Avenue, we were on Wyoming Avenue, we're going to Rising Sun Avenue in a couple weeks, Ogons Avenue, we've been everywhere, 52nd Street, all throughout the all throughout the city. And what we've done is we've partnered with the District Council Office, we've partnered with Commerce's MBAT team, and we've partnered with community development corporations and just regular community activists that wanted to come out with us. We do an education piece first. We walk out, we give everyone a flyer. It's actually a pamphlet. It's in every language imaginable. We work with the business owners. We talk to them. We have Commerce there to actually say, hey, here's some good things that you can do. You could get, the facade grant. You can get all these different things. We'll work with you. Hey, you didn't know you were supposed to be licensed here? Well, you were, but you know what? Now you know we're going to let you get in the process. We go back 3 to 4 weeks later. That's when we start the enforcement piece. If someone's trying to do what they're supposed to be doing, we work with them. We work with them to come in. Our thing is come in compliance, right? We don't want to chase businesses out of the city that are doing good that just don't know, right? So that's what we do. So it's been super successful. We're on our 18th one coming up, which I believe is next week, I think. So what we're doing is, after we do the first piece, we do the enforcement, then we go back out. You know what I mean? We'll do a re-inspection. And then some of those businesses that just are not going to come into compliance, then we take the next step, whether that's a cease or that's going to court or whatever it is. It's been very successful to date.
Great, thank you very much. Just want to acknowledge the presence of the Chair of License and Inspection, Chairman Mike Driscoll. Thank you for joining us. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jim Harity.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to say thank you all for coming out. The fire department, I'm a grandson of a firefighter, matter of fact, a disabled firefighter. He was tossed from a truck en route to a job. And he had to retire from the fire department, but ended up having a pretty good life at Boeing for their fire department as an into the office guy. So I have a lot of respect for you guys. Also curious, I put $10 million on my first thing for bonuses for first responders and hard-to-fill positions with the example of building inspectors. I know the police have gotten theirs worked out. Do you guys see any of that bonus money, first off, for recruitment?
Was that for building inspectors or fire, did you say?
I put it in, and the actual language said first responders with police, paramedics especially, and L&I inspectors. And in the other, it was hard to fill positions. But there was 10 million put into that, right? When I first got here, maybe my first budget cycle, I believe, or second budget cycle, was right before when Mayor Parker was going to take charge, take office. So I'm just curious if you guys ended up with it. I know the police did work out theirs because I didn't think of the retention, so they had to work out a retention thing.
Councilmember, well, we did not follow up on that. Yep.
Maybe that's something that we might have to look
could have to work
into
on
again,
that, right.
trying to get some of these people especially the paramedics and hard to fill positions. The bonus may help. I know a lot of different cities are doing that. They were snaking our police. That's why I put it in the first place. And then my stuff's just mostly for the fire. I'm going to skip some of my numbers things. I'll submit them. But are your staff paramedics, are there any areas of the city that has no ALS or advanced life support medic units, and why? How many days have you run out of available ALS medic units in the past year? How many units were downgraded from ALS to BLS in the past year? And that'll do it for right now.
Councilmember Harity, great questions. I'm going to have my Deputy Commissioner for EMS respond to those questions.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin McCall, Deputy Commissioner for Emergency Medical Services, and thank you for those questions. We have no area in the city of Philadelphia is not without an ALS medic unit located within it. All of our ALS medic units, we have a staffing structure in which our medic units, we want to keep them at the highest level possible, ALS. And if if that level cannot be achieved, we have additional levels in which we can go to, such as an intermediate level, as well as then finally the basic level. We do everything we can within the available members in which we have to keep our units that are ALS. The number of units that we have that downgraded varies from depending on the time of the year and what happens, but they can and what staffing we have available. But again, we don't really track like how many we keep, how many were ALS and how many are BLS, but we do everything we can to keep all of our units at the highest level we can keep them.
But you're telling me that there are no areas of the city of Philadelphia that don't have an advanced life support medic unit?
Every zone, and we divide the city into 6 zones, right, have ALS medic units located within those zones.
So that would be 6 ALS medic units is what we have?
No, sir, we have 53 ALS medic units in the city, and they're divided up into 6 zones.
Okay.
And they're
53 and 6 zones.
24 hours, and we have 10 basic life support units in the city, and they are divided up amongst the zones. So there's not a zone that does not have an ALS medic unit located within it.
Well, that's good to hear. Okay, Council President, I know I heard the clock, and I want to be respectful of my colleagues, so I'll submit any other questions I have in writing. Thank you, Chief.
Well,
Thank you. Councilmember O'Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. President. Get that in writing. Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Collins Greenwald, blessings to you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
At our March 18th Housing Committee hearing, you said that in order to get a proactive inspection program up and running that could inspect all of our rental units, the department would need to hire 110 people with a budget increase of around $6.2 million, plus vehicle and space costs. The president's already named this on the development of the new unit side, but the administration is committing $800 billion to the home initiative, and we have a roughly $61 million housing trust fund. As a point of information, I actually believe that L&I is the second highest revenue earning department in the administration. It's clear that we need these inspectors all around, especially on the proactive side. It's also clear that we actually have the money. So why are we not making this modest $6.2 million investment in protecting our housing stock, which, by the way, could also create 110 good union jobs for Philadelphians?
Thank you. At the hearing that we had in March, if you recall, I said that we were actually working with Pew, and we were working with some other we were trying to get some best practices on what we should do. That number I throw out was a quick and dirty number if you just divide it, really simple math. Do I think we need 110 inspectors? I don't know for sure. I actually don't think we do, I'm going to be honest, but that's just my best guess. So what I would like to do is finish with that research, which should be done in the next few months, and then actually come with a really solid plan on how we could do proactive rental licenses. I don't think it's just a matter of adding inspectors. I think there's incentive programs for landlords that are actually following all the rules that we can offer. I think there's something we should be doing for new rental inspections, new rental licenses. I think the virtual inspection program that we talked about is going to kick off in June. So I think that all those factors coming in are going to lead us to a very comprehensive plan, but I'm just not ready to put on paper exactly what it is right this second.
It sounds like those, I think, would be great things in terms of creating a comprehensive, well-rounded plan. But on the matter of inspectors, it would help if you could explain this to me a little better for my colleagues. As far as I understand, the home plan is a massive investment intent on building, because if you said you don't even think we need 110, so that would mean we might need less, so perhaps it could be cheaper. But the home plan is a massive investment intent on building and preserving our housing stock. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we only inspect roughly, at this current stage, 7% of that particular housing stock that we're trying to preserve. why are we not investing the same level of resources and attention into a proactive inspection system to prevent homes from falling into disrepair in light of the tight timeline that Madam Mayor has bravely set for herself, only making more relevant the necessity of a swift ramp up? This seems to be a moment where an ounce of prevention actually is worth a pound of cure.
Okay, to answer that question again, I think it'd be very premature for me to go on the record and say I needed 110 inspectors. I can't give a different answer than that. I mean, I can work with your group to see what we need. I can work with Pew and do the research, and I can work on see what best practices would be. But actually, that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Did I hear the bell? Or I can go. I got time. Thank you. Bless you. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Thompson. We all appreciate the work that you and your firefighters do each and every day. First, how many paramedics do you have currently, and how many are you budgeted for?
Again, I'm going to bring the Deputy Commissioner for EMS to answer that question.
Thank you, sir.
So again, my name is Martin McCall, Deputy Commissioner for Emergency Medical Services.
Bless you, sir.
We currently have roughly 212 paramedics enrolled in the fire department, on staff at the fire department.
As you mentioned, the goal of hiring 200 EMS providers this year is aggressive. How realistic is this goal, and what barriers will have to be overcome to meet it?
Well, we have a very robust program in place now to bring on as many people as we possibly can. We currently have a list of EMTs that we are hiring off of. We are scheduled to have an EMT class start on the 12th of 73 people. We're looking to start another class shortly after that of EMTs and help get us to that goal of 200. In June, we look to hire a class of paramedics. We're looking at about 10 paramedics coming on board right now for that class. We're open the paramedic list again. We've asked our partners at OHR to open that list for us again, which they did. They helped us out and did that to help us capture any individuals that may need some work due to the Crozier closing, and to bring those folks on board. So that is currently open to create another list for paramedic, and we want to bring those folks on board as soon as we can. And then we look to do another class in the fall, and then another class hopefully by the beginning of the next year. So we're aggressively looking to bring people on board to reach that number and to get to at least 200. If we can bring on more, we will.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Also, Commissioner, I just want to acknowledge, and I get a chance to work with some of your members, but I've worked probably more with Daniel McCarthy more than others, and so just want to acknowledge you for your hard work and dedication along with your team. But thank you specifically in terms of the outreach and support you have been giving us, and also the Local 22, and most importantly, the Valiants. Learned about the Valiants as a young man fresh out of college, working with a gentleman named Harold James and Sheriff John Green, and also Commissioner Ayers at that time, early on. And so the Valiants have played a very critical role in producing African-American firefighters in the city of Philadelphia, but I also do a lot of work with Local 22 as well. So just want to thank y'all for your hard work and your dedication, and acknowledge that. The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't expecting to be up so soon. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? I want to start by just saying a thank you to the Philadelphia Fire Department for all of your hard work, and I want to especially shout out my two neighbors who live across the street who are firefighters, and that's Bruce Canada and Larry Carroll, who are just great neighbors, great citizens here in the city of Philadelphia, great civically engaged, civically minded, and fantastic firefighters. So I did want to just shout them out, as well as for all of those who are working throughout the 8th Council District in the various, station locations through Chestnut Hill, Mount Airy, Germantown, Nicetown, Tioga, parts of Alany, parts of Logan, parts of West Oak Lane, parts of Feltonville, and parts of North Philly. So, you all have a very difficult job, and I just want to really say a big thank you to all of you for your public service. L&I. So we have frequent conversations, Basil, of course, Bridget, it's always a pleasure to see you guys. But I want to start with a frequent conversation that we have around due process, because I feel like sometimes we give due process and we give these really bad players an opportunity to get it right when they didn't start out right in the first place. And I want to say, Commissioner Miranda, you recall we went out to a location in the West Oak Lane part of my district on Ogontz Avenue, and they, this particular business, which was a smoke shop, had no license to operate, no certificate of occupancy. They had done construction without permits. They had illegal signage. They did the sale of tobacco without a license. They had the sale of loose cigarettes. They had tobacco sales in the same block as a school and church. They had a lack of heat and air circulation. There were exposed radiator pipes, loose and exposed wires, drug paraphernalia, on and on. And you remember that one, I'm sure. But there's so many of these locations, and it's so frustrating because people really want something to be done. These are a nuisance in our community, and I know you get it. So it's, I guess I'm just wondering, how do we figure out a way so that one person's due process doesn't impede on the rights of the community in which they're operating, and disturbing, to be quite honest.
Well, council member, if the activity involves actual construction, we can go out there and put a stop work order if they're not complying with the code, if they're going beyond the scope of their permits. We can do that immediately. We don't have to go to court to do something along those lines. However, if it's already built, if it's operating, then that's where Bridget's folks will take over. So,
Right.
So I can jump in on this one too. Yeah, so to Basil's point, new construction, he can put a stop work order up. We can go out, inspect if it's violations. We issue usually an intent to cease, and then we'll issue a cease, right? Usually when we issue a cease, I'm gonna say a majority of the time people will appeal, and they'll try to get, this is where your due process question is coming in, right? So if someone's appealing, there are certain things you can't appeal, but there are a lot of things you can, and they appeal these violations, and while they're appealing, there's a stay of the enforcement. And that's where the frustration comes in for all of us.
So what can, I'm just thinking that we need to think about it differently. We need to have some sort of outside, out of the box way of approaching some of these matters, because, people look at us, people are angry at us, that, like a business like this one, as an example, is still open and operating. They came in with no license, they did everything wrong. They flagged their nose at the city of Philadelphia, and they're still operating. They probably don't even have a tax account so that we're collecting tax revenue, or that they're paying taxes like they're supposed to.
So in these instances, to your point, we're starting to change language. We're working with the law department on how I said there's a stay of enforcement now. We have this language, it's called like certified language. It's kind of a legal test. It's legal language, but anyway, we're gonna start putting them on our violations, and it's gonna stop some of those stays of enforcement under certain appeals. So I think that's gonna help a lot. So we're working through that. We have the language now. We're just working on how do we get it onto our NOVs, and how do we get that through the system where we don't put it for every single thing, but these more egregious types of violations, they'll go out in that way. So I think that's going to be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And, Councilmember, internally, what we've done is also establish what we call a court district unit. That is to address the backlog in cases, because we saw a lot of our inspectors get frustrated, along with the constituents. They write a case, and then it kind of languishes. So we put together a court district that would focus on re-inspecting these units, getting together the evidence, getting together testimony, getting together, prepping witnesses so that they're ready to go to court, so that there's no delay as far as getting the cases ready. So, it'll help on the margin. It's not it's not a panacea, but it'll help on the margin, and it'll get those cases ready to go into court when they're ripe. So.
Well, listen, I know you all have a really tough job, and so I really, want to thank you as well for all the work you do. I know that you're trying. I think we're all just really frustrated. I remember there was a previous commissioner, under a couple of administrations ago, who said, L&I did a survey, and 70% of the city is happy with us. And I said to her on the record, I said, well, I must have the entire other 30% living in the 8th Council District because nobody's happy with L&I. But I know that you all are working really hard, and I know it's a tough job, but it's just, we need more tools. We need more tools. And I don't think necessarily for whatever money we put into the budget, I don't think that that's going to get us the tools. It'll get us bodies, but if the bodies are going out and we're getting the same result, then, we just need the tools, I think. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember, we do have our hands full, Bridget and I. So when I was appointed commissioner, folks would come up to me and congratulate me. And I say to them, well, if you're religious, say a prayer for us because we need it.
Well, listen, like I said, I know how hard you all work. And, I appreciate that we kind of beat y'all up a little bit, but y'all are still here and smiling, and we appreciate the work you do. Thank you.
All right, you say you got your hands full, but one of the members trying to give you some money to try to help you out. But y'all saying we cool. So with that being said, the chair recognizes Chairman Mike Driscoll, L&I Committee.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Let me begin by complimenting the Commissioner, Fire Commissioner, and both our commissioners of L&I. On January 31st, when the plane went down in the Roosevelt Mall, your agencies stepped right in. Commissioner, your men and women, instead of running away from things, you're running into the danger. And I can't tell you, on a national level, it was recognized. And I think if I can ask my colleagues to once again acknowledge both these agencies for stepping up during the...
Thank you.
I know both commissioners of L&I, I was very involved with the task force report, as you know, and it was a pleasure working on that with you folks. Basil, let me start with you. Do you think it's working?
Absolutely, council member. Bridget and I have kind of collaborated on dividing up what should come under my purview, what should come under her purview. We're doing it seamlessly. And in my opinion, we're operating as separate departments. So operationally, we're ready to operate a separate department. In my case, focus exclusively on construction, small and large construction projects citywide, and Bridget's, of course, her group is focused on enforcement of business operations and things of that nature. So we're rearing to go.
That's good to hear. And I know Commissioner Greenwald, you and I walked Frankfurt Avenue, and I guess our majority leader will be asking you questions with regard to, specific businesses in collaboration with your department to make sure we're not only just going in and symbolically closing them for an hour, and then as soon as the sun goes down, they're back open. So I really want to make sure that Catherine Gilmore Richardson's legislation, that we pay a lot of attention to that because I think it's going to work. I was very frustrated with the Airbnb process on how they're getting their licenses. And Commissioner, I'm working with Tom McDade. We intend to introduce legislation soon to close those loopholes. Because specifically one property in my district got an over-the-counter license. Now this is a building in the middle of a block in Tacony. And they're now legal to have an Airbnb for 25 people. Regularly throughout the week. It's insane. There's not enough parking. The people are it's becoming a one big party zone. And I know that that's not what the program was intended for. So Mr. McDade is working with Mara in my office, and we'll have that legislation introduced hopefully soon and close that loophole, because it's a problem, I'm sure, not just in the 6th Councilmanic District, but throughout the city of Philadelphia. And I am nervous that we're not going to be able to fix the entire problem going into 2026, where I think we have a lot of tourism that'll benefit from this program. But I think we have to be mindful with the police department and with your agency that there's bad actors out there, and we have to address that. So I don't know if you want to comment, Commissioner.
Yeah, we look forward to that. I've been working with Tom McDade. He's been filling me in on what we're doing. So we look forward to that legislation, because as you can know, we can only enforce what's legislated, right? So once we close that loophole, I think we'll have a little bit more enforcement power.
Good. And then Basil, with regard to your department, I know Councilmember O'Rourke alluded to it. Your agency is one of the unique ones that can actually be revenue generating. And so the sooner we get more inspectors on the street, the sooner we're going to be able to kind of self-generate so that you have the resources you need. Is there anything while you have us here today that we can be doing? I know you're working with the administration, but is there any emergency relief that you need from this legislative body, or do you think you have it under control?
We have things under control, council member. One thing that we could use is just identify for us areas where you have trouble construction going on, so that we can get our Saturday patrols out there to your particular neighborhoods or areas in your district we could address, and situations that, especially now in the summer months, where projects, construction sites are really messy and not maintained, and we can get our Clean Sites Initiative folks out there to issue violations and things of that nature. Just keep the lines of communication open. That's the best thing we can do.
Okay. And I'll leave this round with, just want to compliment Steve Gallagher and his team, because he provides a crucial role when an emergency happens. Yes. And those men and women in your department are amazing. And Steve in particular, I've called him late at night, weekends, and he's always answers all the time. And I just can't say enough nice things about your team.
I refer to our CSU as L&I's version of the Marine Corps. They do an outstanding job. They go into really hairy situations, really drastic situations. And in fact, Steve is here with us today. Steve, want to stand up?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you so much, Chairman Driscoll. Please continue if you have additional questions, Mr. Chair. Good? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the least amount for the fire department, so I'm going to start with them. Thank you guys for coming out, and I have to say that my son is a firefighter, Officer McCoy. My question is about the fire department was able to open 3 companies thanks to a 3-year federal grant that paid the wages for 72 firefighters for 3 years. And will the department be able to retain those firefighters and keep ladders 1, 6, and 11 open when that grant funding runs out?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we were able to reopen the last of 3 fire companies that were closed during the recession of 2009, Engine 6, Ladder 1, and Ladder 11, due primarily to a SAFER grant that we received. And that, as you stated, that SAFER grant, the performance period is for 3 years, after which we would rely on the general fund to operate those companies.
So is the money, do we know that that's coming? Is it in the cycle that those engines would be able to, those stations would be able to stay open when the money phases completely out? Is it a plan for that?
Yes, we most certainly hope so. That grant goes until 2027, so we are most certainly hoping that that will be supported.
Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
And for L&I, sorry, I'm fumbling papers here. I'm gonna start with questions around, someone mentioned this earlier. In 2023, the Joint Task Force on L&I recommended letting the department keep more of the revenue it generates, so L&I can use that money to fund its own operation. What has happened since then? Has that happened?
No.
No, okay. My next question is, last year, the controller's audit of L&I found that your department collects about 3% of the cost of demolishing unsafe buildings from building owners. That left the taxpayers on the hook for at least $58 million in unrecovered demolition costs over 5 years. The controller said that L&I should devote more resources to collecting those costs from people responsible for unsafe buildings. Have you had opportunity to do that? And is L&I recovering a higher share of demolition costs from property owners?
So I know that our fiscal unit has looked into working with third-party contractors to generate some of that revenue and get that money back. And also, if someone does not pay, there's a lien put on their property, so when they go to sell, that lien comes to fruition when they go to sell. So there's the third party and then the lien that gets put on your property if you don't pay.
So just the property just the property that's vacant? I mean, we live in a city, we're doing a lot better with a lot of vacant, blighted property in certain neighborhoods, and they're still not selling and also sometimes not paying their taxes. So I'm trying to figure out how we can pull that full circle.
It could only go to an owner of a property, so, right, so you'd have to lien the owner of the property. So that's what it is, whether it be vacant if there's an owner, or if it's just an owner that their property was demolished and they live somewhere else, or whatever it is. But that's where the lien goes, against that property.
Okay. I heard the bell. Can I get one more on the record? So the Philadelphia Fire Code requires dampers to be inspected every 4 to 6 years, depending on the type of building. Dampers are important passive safety features that prevent smoke and fire from spreading throughout buildings via ducts. Do you know what percentage of building dampers are being inspected in compliance with this timeline, and are you taking steps to improve the frequency of the dampers inspections?
Could you ask that again? I'm sorry. Was it the dampers?
Dampers. It's an L&I question.
Okay. Could you ask it again? I'm sorry. I was
Okay,
whispering
so
something to Basil about
the
your
question
last
is, do you know which percentage of buildings dampers are inspected in compliance with the timeline, which is the 4 to 6 year period? Is that actually happening?
I believe it is, but I do not know the exact information, but I can get that to you.
Okay, can you provide that information in writing?
Sure, absolutely.
And if it's being done, what's the frequency? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Brooks. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Young and then Councilmember Lozada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good afternoon. My questions are for L&I. Sorry, I gotta pull them up here. And they are in regards to the inspectors. And I do know that for a quality of life inspector and like a code and building inspector, I mean, could you tell us what, if any, are the differences in the salary range for those inspectors?
The difference in the what? I didn't hear that.
So like an inspector that will go out to inspect a business versus a code enforcement or a building inspector, essentially.
So a building inspector would come from the trades, right? Have a background in one of the trades, and would inspect building permits, construction permits, so electrical, plumbing, whatever that may be. A code enforcement inspector, which will all work on the quality of life side, they would inspect for business compliance, so Title IX stuff, licensing, zoning, the fire code, and the property maintenance code.
Yeah, is there a difference in the salaries?
Construction inspectors have to have 5 certifications under state law.
Yeah,
And then the code inspectors have to have 9 or something like that, right?
The code inspectors have to have some too, yeah. Did you ask what's the difference in their salary?
What's
There
the difference?
was a difference in their salary until very recently. Now their salaries are the same.
So thank you for that. So now their salaries are the same. So how are you incentivizing folks, to become those construction official inspectors, when you have to do more We have to do more work essentially by doing all these different certifications, more certifications than you would being, the other type of inspector.
I don't think they do more work. I think they do different work. I would differ on that. They both sides need certifications, the construction side and the code enforcement side. They both need different types of certifications. One needs like construction code, one needs fire code, one needs property maintenance, one needs zoning. So they don't do more work, they do different types of work.
I say that to say that, they do different types of work, yes, but one has to get 9 certifications and the others have to get like 5 or 6. And so when you have to get more certifications, I'm just assuming that more certifications means a higher difficulty of work, rather, I'll say.
That isn't necessarily true in the way, you could talk to OHR about how they figure out the pay structure, but that is not necessarily true, that the more certifications you need, the harder your work is, or any type of thing like that. So I think that's really an OHR question, but there's all kinds of things you base a pay evaluation on. There's the safety position you're in, the degree of knowledge you need, what kind of hazardous material you're going to come in touch with. There are a multitude of things that determine who gets paid and how they get paid, and it's not just based on certifications.
Our challenge on the construction side is to compete with the private sector. We have our construction inspectors that are code compliant, all kinds of code certifications, and they're being plucked, so to speak, by third-party inspection agencies. And that's who we're competing against. And we have to try to meet them on salary. And that's a big challenge, council member. We have to try to meet them on challenge. But what we're trying to do is, at least for the time being, before we can address that, make the culture at L&I on the construction side a lot better for our inspectors so that they can stay, put in a few years, and have that really good benefit package that is not being offered on the outside. So that's the challenge that our construction side is up against. I agree we do need to increase the salary range, but in the meantime we have to make our operations, our culture here at L&I a lot more conducive.
And I think that goes to my point. What I'm trying to make is that the construction side folks have the opportunities to go make a whole lot more money in the counties doing a similar job. And so when we see that happening and we know that the code officials and the construction side folks here, like what are we doing to incentivize our building officials to stay here in Philadelphia when on the code side, it's the same salary, and they say, you know what, I'm getting the same salary as this person, but the county recognizes that it's a more, technical position.
Yes.
And so they're going to pay me as such.
Yeah, make the job much better for our inspectors, that they want to come to work, that they want to build a career here at L&I and get that year or so in, a couple of years in, so that they can have those benefits. And our challenge is, again, to make the culture better at L&I. And what I've tried to do is implement what I call quarterly meetings. And we went through 3 rounds, and we actually go out with my senior staff to all the districts and meet with the inspectors and hear their issues and their concerns. And, they're very blunt with us. And we, in turn, try to go back and address some of their issues so that we can keep them in the fold, so to speak. And be that as it may, we have experienced some inspectors that went out and, the grass is greener on the other side, but until they get there. And now they're trying to reach back out and want to come back to L&I, as we did this past March with bringing a really experienced inspector back into the fold. So hope springs eternal. We're out there trying and trying to make sure that we could do our part. In the meantime, again, we have to address the salary issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Young. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Lozada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have my first question is just for clarification. I wanted, Deputy Commissioner mentioned that there are 212 enrolled paramedics. How many of them are actually working in the field and working on emergency response? I think it was Deputy Commissioner McCall.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Right now, it's hard to say how many are working. We have members get injured, they go off sick, they utilize their paid time off, things of that nature. So we don't, I mean, it varies from shift to shift, from day to day, how many are actually working. But we have that many on the rolls that we solicit for, that are either on shift that day or we solicit to work overtime, that are off shift to cover those spots that are off, that are out.
But you don't have a number of those who are actually active and working?
The number of people that we have, like,
Who are actually working. So of the 212 that are enrolled, how many are actually available to work?
right,
In emergency
so roughly
response work.
30% are, we calculate a replacement factor of 30%. So we expected roughly about 30% of those to not be available to us, right? So that's roughly 62 people, 64, somewhere around there, that we think, we anticipate will not be available across all 4 platoons, 64 people.
Thank you for that information. In my conversations in preparing for 2026, I heard something that was a little concerning, and I just want some clarification. PA State Act 121 refers to workers' compensation for first responders dealing with PTSD and goes into effect in October of 2025. PFD and PPD members who establish this diagnosis with a licensed psychiatrist can take up to 2 years paid off. What will the department do in preparation for the upcoming large events the city is hosting? Many members will take this as a benefit to heal from work trauma. Is your department prepared for the staffing requirements?
Thank you for that question. We most certainly are thinking quite a bit about 2026. And in fact, one of the things that we are doing is we're working with, in our contract negotiations with Local 22, we want to change some language to ensure that all of our members are available to us. Right now, sometimes we have limited ability to, we have the ability to recall workers when we need them for large-scale fires, for instance, right now. We want to incorporate language that we can make sure that we can recall our members to support our operations, to support the city during those times. So that's one of the big things that we are doing.
You talked about upscaling your EMTs to paramedics. Why does it take so long for folks to become paramedics if we need them so badly?
There are a couple things with that. There continues to be a nationwide shortage of hiring paramedics. The pay for a paramedic across the region has equalized. There was a time when the city of Philadelphia was a higher paying place to work. Hiring paramedics still is a challenge for us. It takes 4 months, I believe, once we recruit paramedics. Paramedics come to the fire department with that certification, already trained. So it takes 4 months to, their academy is much shorter than that of a firefighter. And once we bring them on board, trying to, I'm sorry, can you rephrase your question?
If we need paramedics so badly,
Right.
Why is it taking us so long to recruit them from, EMT, and then they become paramedics? So why is it taking so long? What
Right.
is the challenge that you're experiencing?
Okay, again, it's the demand for paramedics nationwide continues to be a challenge. Philadelphia, typically the workload is pretty excessive, so people choose to work other places. As Deputy Commissioner McCall spoke about earlier, we have reopened our application period to try to capture more people. And whereas when we give a test for a firefighter, for instance, we will get thousands of applicants. We may get, for paramedic, we may get a far few number of paramedics to solicit to come on board. They know the challenges of working in this system. So when the upskilling program that we are going to do is going to allow us to take our EMTs and train them to a higher level to paramedic. That does a few things. We can internally promote, which gives them EMTs more opportunities at better pay, and it helps us to retain the medics that we have. So it's really a challenge to just throughout the entire country to attract and maintain paramedics.
Council President, point of information.
Chair recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you. Can you tell us when that program will get up and running, the program that trains the EMTs to become paramedics? Because I know, like you said, there's a shortage of paramedics, but is there the same shortage of folks applying to become EMTs for the city as well? Because if you can hire internally, you can always keep that pipeline going. So if you can tell us when that program will be up and running.
So we are asking for FY26 funding to get that program up and running. We are prepared to do it. It's easier for us to hire EMTs than it is for paramedics. So we are continuing, as Deputy Commissioner McCall mentioned, our goal is to hire 200 EMS providers, and a big part of that will be EMTs. And we just think this program, this upskilling program is really going to help us because it will, again, provide a pathway for advancement. It will provide a higher level of service for the citizens of Philadelphia. So we believe it's a win-win.
Have you identified the pipeline of EMTs ready to become or looking to become paramedics? So is that can just, because we fund it, right? I want to make sure that we fund it, if it's in the FY26 budget, that is good to go. So next year, because I believe we heard this last budget cycle, we need the money so we can fund it, so we can fund it this year. So I don't want to come to FY27 and say, oh, we need the money so we can start the program again next year.
So we do have an RFP out that is going to help us identify and recruit. So we are working on opening and maintaining a pipeline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Kess.
Thank you.
No worries. And then in one of the past budget cycles, I asked questions around Directive 58, having talked to several firefighters and some of their experiences, and then having questioned some of your leadership, some of the past leadership around Directive 58. Can you tell me if Directive 58 has actually been updated? Has it been disseminated appropriately? Has there been training? Have you responded to the backlog of incidents that were there in the past? And have there been new incidents since?
So we continue to adapt to a changing fire department. And we still have our challenges, but more specifically, yes, we did update Directive 58 in 2024. And we were able to ensure that there was information that had to be updated. So we did that in 2024. It was disseminated. So whenever we come up with a new directive, we issue it throughout the entire department via a general memorandum with an electronic copy, and it goes to every member of the department's email address. And it's also published on our website, on our documentation unit.
And so the telephone number that is or was on Directive 58 used to go to a number that wasn't responded to. Have we updated that number to someone being able to actually speak to someone?
Yes, and that was one of the big things. We knew that some of that information was outdated, so it is updated.
And do you have a backlog, and have there been no incidents?
Pardon me?
Did you guys respond to the backlog of complaints? And have there been new incidents since you updated that policy?
So we take every single complaint in the fire department very seriously, and our internal HR department, our EEO folks, they do a pretty good job of thoroughly investigating and dealing appropriately with those things. So if those issues become disciplinary, we refer those to our Special Investigations Officer, who will take appropriate action. In terms of how many new complaints we may or may not have, I don't have an answer for you, but I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you,
then,
Member Lozada.
Councilmember, he took my time.
Brief.
Okay, this is my last question. My last question. I know that you guys have the Explorers
Go
program.
ahead, Member Lozada. Go ahead.
Am I okay to go? Okay.
Go ahead.
I know you guys have the Explorers program. Is there a pathway to be able to continue to encourage young people that complete the Explorers program, become young adults, to actually be a part of the pipeline to become firefighters?
So we are very proud of that program because it gives us the opportunity to let young folks know about a career in public service. And I have to get this information for you definitively, but I believe fire explorers get additional points when they take the civil service exam to be a firefighter. So I think that is one of the ways that we help them to go from being an explorer to a firefighter.
Thank you.
Thank you. And will we also be partnering with like WDAS, Power 99, using social influencers like Wallow 267 to get the word out, and maybe also focus on another generation of young people who may be interested in becoming a firefighter? Is that part of the strategy, recruitment-wise, as well?
We to be honest, we haven't used those avenues, but Council President, those are
Or
great ideas.
recommendation, let me say that. I recommend maybe that's a different way to try to help get the word out.
That's something that we most certainly can use. Thank you for that suggestion.
And the pay as well also is a good draw for individuals who might want to be involved. So that's good. Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips, then Councilmember Rulandell, then Councilmember Jamie Gautier. You were up here on my behalf. I stand corrected. Councilmember Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, then Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips, because you were standing here on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Prez. Thank you very much, Council President. And thank you all so very, very much for this opportunity. And I wanted to echo the sentiments of our Chair of Licenses and Inspections, wherein we offer our gratitude and appreciation for the members of the Philadelphia Fire Department regarding all of your work with the airplane incident in the 6th Council District. I thought you all did a stellar job under the most extraordinary of circumstance, and really wanted to thank you for that work. And I also wanted to continue to express my deepest gratitude to Engine 19 over in the 4th Council District, and also the Fire Detector Installation Unit officers. We had a fire next door to my home 2 years ago, but I'll never forget it, and I'll bring it up every budget season going forward. And I appreciate the rapid response of Engine 19 and of the entire Philadelphia Fire Department. I wanted to also get on the record, thanks to each of you in the executive team. I had an opportunity to see former Commissioner Ayers this weekend, so that was a wonderful, wonderful surprise and opportunity. And lastly, I'm just going through all the thank yous that my team sent today. Wanted to also thank Chief Bomer for all of his help and support with our office and helping us with all the protocol matters throughout city government. Finally, for licenses and inspections, we have Lisa Adams, Diane Lucidi, Danita Smith in Intergovernmental Affairs. My team says they are always a great resource to get information on L&I services, cases, and any extra attention to emergency and complex cases. Of course, Commissioner Greenwald, we appreciate you, and Renee, who has just been stellar with responding to a number of drug paraphernalia store complaints. Commissioner Miranda, We appreciate you for responding always to the constituent cases we even receive in the evening, particularly around compliance. And of course, Jennifer Jantras, former city council family member. So I wanted to get all that on the record. Really quickly for fire, I heard this earlier from another colleague. How many medic units do you all have for each tour? I didn't catch that.
We have 63 medic units
Okay.
throughout the city.
Okay, 63 throughout the city.
Yes,
Okay, and that's for each tour?
yes.
Okay. And then, is there ever a circumstance where you all run out of medic units?
Unfortunately, there is the occasion when we reach 0 medic units. There are a
Okay.
lot of factors that contribute to that.
Okay, and then what would they be and like which tours do they typically happen? I think I heard somebody asking about this. It may have been Councilmember Harity earlier.
Yeah, it typically during some of our day hours, and what happens increasingly is the demand for EMS services continue to rise.
Okay.
And we have a finite amount of resources at this point that we are continuing to try to adjust and deal with. But there are some things that are happening outside of our control. For instance, hospitals, emergency rooms are increasingly being inundated with patients. And we find there are times when we can't transfer care to the ER because the emergency room does not have beds.
Okay.
So, and what that creates is what we call wall time, because our medics have to stay with the patient, and they literally will stay in a waiting area. And so that medic unit is no longer available, and that is happening more increasingly, and that's a contributing factor to having 0 medic units.
So I think for this, and I would ask that you get this information to Council President for dissemination to all members of council. I'm very concerned about this because we need to have a plan to address this issue, particularly with what's going on in Delaware County with the closure of the Crozier
Yes.
Health System. We are going to be inundated in Philadelphia with additional transfers to our medical facilities. And it's really going to be a situation of, it's outside of our control. And I'll tell you that my husband was born and raised in the city of Chester. And he comes from one of the biggest families in Chester. Grandparents together had 22 children, and they each had a bunch of children. So it was a huge family. And everyone in Chester is talking about this issue. Someone was shot a week or 2 ago and was unable to receive urgent medical care and passed away. Whereas if they were able to get to a trauma facility very quickly, the outcome could have been different. And so we're going to see an influx of cases because of what's going on with the Collier counties and at Crozier Health. And so I think we have to have a plan because we already know that it's a challenge for us here, and it'll only increase because of what's happening. And I heard the bell, and I'm going to honor the clock, but I ask that we get a written response to that and a plan for how we are going to address that issue so we know how to respond within our budget negotiations. And then I just need to put this on the record, Council President, 2 cases in Councilmember Jones's district and 1 in Councilmember Squilla's district. Basil, it would be the 600 block of Jackson Street. The particular property that I'm referring to. We got to have an update on that because the house looks like it's falling down. I do want to thank your staff for going out to the house in the 1500 block of North 61st Street. The senior that I met at Sharon Baptist Church on Monday morning regarding the house that's falling down next door to her. Your team did get back to us today, but they are saying that the house looks like it's going to fall down at any moment. The inspector from LNI said that. And I know it's in the hands of the courts. I'm concerned for the senior. She's elderly, so I have to put that on the record. We will follow up again. And then finally, I have a question on flea markets. We have 2 flea markets, pop-up shops in Winfield that 3 neighbors stopped me about, one on in the 2400 block of North 52nd Street. They have the pop-up shop information out. 3 neighbors stopped me about this one particular property, and then we have 1 property in the 5300 block of Winfield Avenue that 1 committee person asks about every single meeting that they have a continuous flea market on that block. What are the rules around the flea market situation? Please let us know so we can get back to those constituents in Winfield, okay? All right, thank you very much, and thank you, Council President.
Council member, just have your staff person contact me. You have my contacts.
Right.
And we could follow up on those problematic properties, no problem.
Yes, and then I just want, for the record, your team did follow up on the North 61st Street property today, because we just got that on Monday.
Very good.
But when the inspector went out, he said the house looks like it's going to fall down at any moment, but
Okay.
it's in the hands of the courts, and, you know, it's a situation where we know it's going to fall down. It's already in the courts. How do we respond?
We'll monitor it. We'll follow up. Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips, then Councilman Rulandau, then wrapping us up will be Councilmember Jamie Gautier.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to quickly thank you, Commissioner, for all your work. Commissioner, you and your work at the fire department has been remarkable, so continue to keep the work. And also, all to the entire L&I team, thank you for responding to our staff and on many issues. Really quickly, I'm just going to get my questions in. Commissioner, can you provide data on the number or severity of residential fires in Philadelphia over the past 6 to 12 months? Have you identified certain trends that are causing fire incidents? Also, how is the fire department team working with license and inspections to ensure properties, especially rentals, meet fire safety codes? And then lastly, for L&I, Bentley Manor, an Odin property site in the 9th District, received multiple unsafe violations prior to its rental license renewal in November 2024. Can L&I explain why the license was renewed despite these unresolved safety concerns, and also provide an update on the current status of these violations and any actions taken to address them? And then also, lastly, the question I have for you is, can you elaborate, L&I, on the interagency coordination between L&I, the police department, and the health department when nuisance businesses are flagged, and when nuisance businesses pose a threat to the community safety, such as illegal sales, persistent sanitation, or loitering? What is the chain of action, and who takes the lead? Commissioner Fire first.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So as my predecessor would say that Philadelphia has a fire problem, and that continues to be the case for the most part. We still have the severity of fires still persist in the city, and we have a very robust fire marshal's office that investigates every single fire that we have. And what that does is it helps to inform our fire prevention strategy and how we can better reduce the incidence of fire in the city. So that is one of the things that we're doing. I'm very proud to say that in this city as a whole, we have very good working relationships with all other city agencies, and we work very well with L&I to ensure that the fire code reflects the best practices so that we can reduce the incidence of fire. So I hope those two things answer your questions.
Yes, relatively. And then L&I, what's the most common violations L&I is seeing under nuisance business law? Those are my questions. On top of that, the most common violation you see.
The most common violation seen where? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Under the nuisance business law, what is the most common violation that you
So
see?
we get a number of complaints on nuisance businesses. Some of them are exterior, a lot of them are exterior work, so the windows that are covered up. We get the flaggy things that are out front. We get unkept properties. That's a lot of our things. We get things that are against zoning, things that are pop up, like you alluded to, the smoke shops and things like that. That's another biggie that is on our radar as far as businesses. As far as your question with coordination with the health department, so we coordinate with the police department, the health department, and L&I QOL. We go out every single month with them on proactive inspections on a list of properties that are like illegal smoke shops, things of that nature, drug paraphernalia shops. We also coordinate nightly on the weekends. So starting usually like Wednesday night through Sunday night, and on the weekends, our nuisance property unit is out there investigating all kinds of different nuisance properties, whether they're businesses or actual properties, and that's in conjunction with the police department and a lot of times other state partners. Oh, and the Odin property thing, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because there's several different Odin property things. We did a joint inspection of a bunch of them, and a lot of things came into compliance, so I wanna just make sure which one you're talking about, and I'll work with Basil's group to see exactly what happened with those. If you could get me that info on exactly which ones you're talking about, that would be great, and I'll
Will do.
work with Basil's group.
Just for the record, it's the one at West Oak Lane, Bentley Manor.
What was it?
Bentley Manor?
Bentley Manor?
Yep, in West Oak Lane.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips. Councilmember Ruth Landau.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to try to be quick because we're coming to the end of the day, but I also do want to thank you all so much for your service and everything you've done for Philadelphia. I have a question. I want to start with rental licenses. What percentage of rental licenses that are issued by LNI are for properties owned by LLCs? Same question, what percentage of rental licenses that are issued by LNI have the property owner listed as a managing agent? And what percentage of rental licenses that are issued by LNI have a managing agent whose listed address is a business with a commercial activity license?
Councilmember, all great questions. We have the statistics, we have the data, but I don't have it on
Okay,
right at my
can you get that
fingertips.
to me?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
Yeah, if you could just send me an email with your questions, listing them.
Absolutely. And then I wanted to ask about the rollout of Web UI, taking over for
Yes.
Eclipse, called Web UI?
Yes,
Web UI?
yep.
Before the full rollout of the new Web UI, does LNI plan on doing any type of user training or stakeholder engagement to ensure that the new features are meeting community needs effectively?
Yes, we plan to continue. We already have a lot of outreach and a lot of webinars and things of that nature. And I see absolutely no problem with us doing the same thing for the Web UI rollout. And I think we're planning in November sometime to have that operational. So in the meantime, I'll make sure that we're going to have a set schedule set up for public outreach to explain that whole process, and we'll keep you in the loop also.
Great. To be clear, though, even with the public outreach, I want to make sure that the users who are going to use it
Yes.
get to give you some input
Yeah.
Before it's finalized.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yep,
Yeah.
let me follow up on that. Yep, sure, that's a good point.
We want to make
Yep.
sure we're creating the tool that people need.
That need and they know how to use, and, maybe they have some suggestions also, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I have more L&I questions, but at the risk that I'm not getting called again, I want to switch over to the fire department real quick. Last year, I asked about renovations and accommodations for women and people who identify as women firefighters, such as separate bathrooms and bunk rooms for overnight shifts, dispensers for feminine hygiene products and hoods to accommodate hair that have been put up and protects the back of the neck. There's also an increase in Class 200 budget item, which will be used to upgrade EMS medic units and other technologies. What's the update on all of that? Is any of the funding being used for these upgrades? And are there any occurring renovations to accommodate female firefighters in terms of receptacles and protective hoods?
Thank you for that question. As you know, our infrastructure is pretty old, and we are in a continuous state of upgrade and repair. And we are working with our partners at DPP. And whenever we are doing significant renovations, we are ensuring that we have facilities that are suitable for both males and females. So that's an ongoing thing. We have 63 stations throughout the city. It is going to take some time. We are, in this budget, we are looking to have lactation pods. So we're trying to address that issue. So we recognize those issues, and we also know that it's going to take time and money, quite frankly, to get a lot of those things accomplished. But we are working, we are making progress towards those things.
Thank you. Remember that it's a great conversation because there's a direct connection between these modifications and recruitment. Let's get that to happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chairman recognizes Councilman Jamie Gautier, then Councilman Nicholas O'Rourke, then Councilman Ketty Lozada, whose time was stolen by Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to start by thanking all of you for being here and for the work that you do every day that's so critical to the health and safety of our residents and our neighborhoods. And I know that many times when we're communicating with you, we're imparting the frustrations of our constituents, but I also want you to know that we really do appreciate you and your responsiveness and everything that you do for our office. My questions are for L&I. One topic that our office consistently struggles with is when building violations are inside of a property. In these situations, we can present all sorts of examples and paper trails, but L&I still won't write a violation or enforce unless an inspector can get into the interior of the building. This comes up with structural issues in vacant buildings, but also with code violations in occupied buildings that are engaged in uses they aren't zoned for. This is a very easy way also for a building owner who knows that they are in the wrong to get around the city. They just don't let them in, right? So why is this the policy, and what can we do as council to help L&I get around this hurdle? And then my next question, my last question is, what operational or legislative changes, oh, wait a second. Hold on. My last question is about, what operational and legislative changes would be needed for L&I to partner with groups like PHDC or other city contractors to perform essential emergency repairs on privately owned properties while court cases are still pending? So could L&I perform basic repairs, secure doors, or remove immediate hazards, and then bill the property owner later? And what resources or changes to state law would be necessary to recoup these repair costs more effectively? And I'm asking this because I feel like we have gotten better at moving cases to court, right? We've fought hard to make sure that the law department has the resources that they need, but even though we're moving the cases to court, we're waiting for hearings, and in the meantime, we're still dealing with dangerous conditions and situations. So I want to know, while we are moving forward, judicially, what can we do in the meantime to make sure that our residents are healthy? And I know that was, are safe, and I know that was a lot, so I can repeat any element of those questions if need be.
I think I got the one part, and Basil's going to do the second, first question. So as for the repair program, as we've stated before, like, we do partner with PHDC. So PHDC does have the mechanism to actually repair things. The Department of Licenses and Inspections does not. L&I is not. We're not tradespeople. We're not project managers. We're not construction project managers where we would do something like that. We do, however, go in, we clean and seal properties. We do those types of things to make a property safe.
I'm not asking for you to take on the repairs yourself. What I am saying is, while we have a situation where we're working with L&I to cite folks who have violations. Many times we are moving these cases forward, but then we're stuck. And so it's not that I'm asking you to take on PHDC's role. What I'm asking you is, what can you do in partnership with PHDC to make sure that these issues are resolved and that residents aren't just sitting there, having to deal with these continued.
So we do partner with PHDC on the rental programs and things like that, those assistants. I thought you were saying, could we fix them? So I apologize, I misunderstood that. Yeah, so PHDC has the mechanism to do that. And I think at the last hearing we were at, we were talking about how we coordinate with their rental repair program.
Okay, I don't really believe that we're certainly we have the mechanisms in place. It's not my understanding that we're operating in that way, right? And so I would love, and I know we have the law in place through Councilmember Jones's efforts. I would love if we could truly put together a program where we could remedy some of these issues and we're not just waiting for property owners to address violations or waiting for the courts.
Okay.
Councilmember, our focus, of course, on the construction side is ongoing construction. And access to an interior of a building, you have privacy issues, and we may need to get an administrative warrant, things of that nature. But what we decided to do, once we have complaints about ongoing construction and access to an interior, we'll monitor that, and we'll put it on our Be Aware BOLO list that our district inspectors can take. When they're doing their regular routines, they can take a ride by that to see if there's access, if there actually some sort of construction going on at the time, so that they can catch them in the act. So we're aware of that issue, and we're trying to, we're struggling with it.
That's not, that's great. I understand that's how we're functioning now. That is not good enough for the amount of issues that we're seeing and the amount of times that we're hearing we cannot access a property, right? It's not good enough to say we're just going to drive by and try to see them outside. So what creatively can we do to have a solution that is more effective at getting inside properties that we know have violations and are endangering our residents?
I think it's good that we need to sit down with the law department and figure this all out and decide what direction they can give us and what proofs they need in order to go into court and get that administrative warrant as quickly as possible in an expedited manner. So that's what I would want to follow up with. And, we'll try to do that going forward.
Okay, great. I would love to work with both of you on, both of these issues and on solutions to these issues over the next budget year. Thank you so much. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Rudy. Okay, Councilman Kessie-Lozada. Go ahead.
Two questions.
And then Nick, you
One
want
for-
to wrap up? Okay, Nicholas Rook will wrap us up. Go ahead.
One for LNI. We have seen that LNI has started to go out. Thank you for the education campaigns that you all have partnered with us on doing as it relates to some of the businesses in the neighborhood. I think that as a result of those education walks, we found that many people were not in compliance, not because they couldn't be, but because they thought that they just didn't have to be because they were just allowed to do whatever they wanted to do for a really long period of time. But most recently, we started to do enforcement in collaboration with the police department and the health department. Some of the food trucks are being impacted. One initiative as recently as yesterday, some of these food trucks were confiscated. They are of course, angry and upset. I'm receiving information that it was because vehicles were not registered, licenses were not, food serve licenses were not updated, electrical hookups were illegal. Can you share with me what that looks like? What was the initiative that took place yesterday? How many vehicles were confiscated? And was there an education campaign prior to you all going out?
So I have to get you that information. We were working on that yesterday. It came to us, and there was some kind of discrepancy on what was happening. The vendors thought they were being closed for violating a curfew law. So there were a whole bunch of different issues that were going on there. So I actually might have it now on my phone, but I don't know because I don't have my phone sitting here with me. But I can get you that information. There were several vending trucks that were involved in that, but there was nothing that was confiscated due to anything like that was just out of the ordinary. It was just they didn't have their food serve licenses, and there were a couple other things. One wasn't registered. But let me get you all that information because we were working on that yesterday and today.
Okay, if you could share that, that would be great. And then as a follow-up to my my medics question to Deputy Commissioner McCall, my staff gave me information that there are currently 64 medics who are not available for work. And that would account for, that would leave you with about 126 medics to respond to services when you take into consideration that people are out sick, on vacation, or in trainings. Wouldn't that leave you in the negative? And how are you responding to that? And does that pose a challenge for services, especially in districts like mine where we depend so much on EMT and paramedics?
Thank you for the question. I want to repeat it back if you don't mind, so I understand clearly. What you're asking me is that we're looking at 64 people across 4 platoons that we anticipate being out of our quota at any given time, and that you're asking if that puts us in the negative. And that leave us with roughly about 15 people per platoon off, which roughly give us about, if there's 53 people on, 53 people on, 15 people off, that would not put us in the negative. We would be in overtime, and then we would request for overtime. We would canvass the other members that were available and off, and we make great efforts to reach out to them. We make phone calls, we send text messaging through our Everbridge program to see if anyone's available to work, and then we hire those ahead of time to work. And what we can't hire, what we can't bring on as far as paramedics go, that's when we then look to downgrade that unit to an ILS unit or a BLS unit. And we make efforts to hire those folks for overtime to come into those positions. Overall, we do understand that we need to bring additional people on board. Our men and women out there, firefighters, EMTs, EMTs, advanced EMTs, paramedics work really hard all the time. And we want to ensure that we have a good relief factor for them so that when they do take off, we're not so dependent on that overtime to relieve our staffing. So we want that relief factor in place, and we have that built into the 200 that we are looking to hire to help us out with that space. So we understand that we're kind of right there. To say that we're in a negative right now, I think we're +1 in the numbers. But I think that if someone calls off sick, someone takes a vacation day, someone, then we're in the overtime, and then we're asking folks to work extra, and that might be a little tough for them, and we recognize that.
Are there medics that are either in leadership or in positions that are that can be held by just lay people or other straight firefighters that could cover that space? And if so, does that occur as well?
In our responding ambulances, in our ambulances, we do that. When our medics aren't available, and we canvass them through a phone call and through text messaging through our Everbridge system to work. If they decline to work, then we reach over to our advanced EMTs, our EMTs or FSEs, and our firefighter EMTs to then fill those roles.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you very much. And wrapping us up is Councilmember Nick O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. President. This may have already been asked, but let me make sure I get it on the record on my end. Are your staff paramedics, those not working on the street, in budgeted staff positions? And I'm sorry if this was already asked already.
No worries. Thank you for that question. Our staff, our paramedics that are not in field operational positions, that are off of the street, are in staffed or in budgeted, are mostly budgeted positions. We do have some people detailed to positions that require that level of knowledge to perform that work. So we have them in those positions to until we do a justification or a proof of concept for that position, at which time we will then put in that justification for that position for that paramedic to be budgeted in that position, that staff.
Okay, thank you. The other question I do have, and then I'll get off. The whole blood program, would allow certain medic units to carry blood to supply to trauma victims on the street before they go to the hospital to help save lives, especially shooting and stabbing patients. Why is this program being delayed?
Thank you for that question. Great question. We understand that, you know, the whole blood is a life-saving medicine that we can bring to the city of Philadelphia, and we have the program together. We've had a work group that's been working on that since 2023, and we understand that we're ready to go with that program as soon as we are able to address our zero medic unit problem and our medic unit on the wall problem. And we've implemented some policy programs, and we've looked at our medic unit availability and to try to address that problem. So once that is addressed and we have medic units available to bring that whole blood to the citizens of Philadelphia, we will definitely then implement that program.
So you're lacking units to be able to do it, medic units to be able to do it?
No, I think we have the medic units to do it. It's just they're delayed, right? And working through that delay, trying to reduce that delay, so that those units can respond to those calls. And yes, they are traumatic calls, but they're also, anything that makes a person hemodynamically unstable or have or is bleeding, right? So it could be a GI situation. It could be a young child who had his or her tonsils removed and have a bleeding is concerned. So that whole blood impacts that level, that care incredibly. So we want to have that available and be able to respond to that, but we also want to ensure that our units are not being delayed for reasons out of our control so that can get there, and we want to address that issue first.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
No worries.
Thank you. And the last question, Councilman Rulandow.
Just one, and my apologies as well if this was already asked, but I wanted to ask about cease operations orders. How many rental properties has L&I issued cease operations orders for in the past year?
I do not have that information with me, but I can get to you that.
Okay. Will you also tell me what percentage of rental properties that were issued these cease operations orders had a previous history of unresolved code violations?
Okay, it's the same answer.
And there have been a couple of instances, a Daily Pennsylvanian just reported on one in University City, and of course we always talk about Brit Shalom as places where landlords are using at least the fear of cease operations or potentially the actuality of cease operations to try to get around the eviction process and get all of their tenants to leave at once. I've seen this many times over the years. L&I often will figure out what's happening, catch up, and stop this practice. But I am curious whether or not you are watching this trend, ensuring that it doesn't happen, and have safeguards in place to make sure landlords aren't circumventing their responsibilities or the eviction process in order to just let their place fall into disrepair and say, well, that's it, got to cease operations.
I think when we get into this more proactive rental inspection thing, we're going to catch a lot of those things. Like I said, we're not there yet, but I think once we do, we're going to start to identify more of those bad actors, as you call them, and as we all call them, and then stop that practice from happening.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for your presence.
Council President, could you indulge me for 1 minute? I'm thrilled to hear that L&I has been so responsive to the council. I think that submits, I would submit that that's proof positive that the split has worked out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
first and foremost, even separate from the split, I know my members work very, very hard and very, very thorough in terms of when they're getting behind a particular initiative. So to the gentleman from this body who chairs license inspection, Councilmember Mark Driscoll, I believe in his leadership. I believe in the work that the two of you have done in terms of from a collaboration standpoint, and I also acknowledge the work that the mayor has done as a new leader coming in and say, wait a minute, I want to separate the two in terms of how we approach things to make sure we're addressing all the issues comprehensively. And so continue to keep up the good work. But most importantly, we thank you for having the response, both of you. Anytime I call, I get a response. That's half the battle.
Absolutely.
Right? Half the battle is showing up, right?
Right.
And so, we'll continue to keep working together. The chair recognizes Councilman Ketchy Lozada.
Council President, I'm just looking at this really quickly, and I have one question for Deputy Commissioner, because now he has me confused. He said they were +1, but they're negative in staffing, and he said you guys call folks and offer them overtime. Isn't it cheaper to just hire medics as opposed to paying folks overtime?
We are hiring medics. We have currently a list of 40, and on that list, we've had 10 people that have made it through our process to ready to start the academy, and that start will be in June. Those 10 paramedics we will be onboarding. We actually just opened up the list again to help capture some of the people that were at Crozier that are now without jobs, so we can then bring them on board. So we opened that list, and that list closes on, it was just extended to the 18th. So it was the 13th closure, now it's the 18th of this month, in which that list that opportunity will close so we can capture those folks. So we are hiring paramedics. And we're going to continue to hire paramedics. We want to get as many paramedics as we possibly can. We understand that that's strenuous work, and having that relief helps us out a great deal. What happens, though, is that people, we can't anticipate when people will determine that, they're not feeling well for the day, that they need to take a holiday or vacation day or time off or something along those lines. And our relief factor suffers because of it. So then we have to go to overtime for that. And that's any position. It could be a firefighter EMT. It could be an EMT or FSE, excuse me. It could be an FSE advanced, and it could be a paramedic. When it's a last minute something or even something projected, we understand that we get into a relief, and that's where we have a little gap. And we're looking to fill that. For us, a relief factor for our paramedics across all 4 platoons would be 64 additional individuals.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your presentations. And if anyone would do additional follow-up as well, we will follow up with you individually. With this being said, you're dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With this being said, the chair recognizes Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson for a motion of the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolutions before the committee today stand in recess until Monday, May the 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in room 400.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the public hearing and meeting on the bills and resolutions before the committee today stand in recess until Monday, May the 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. This committee will stand in recess until Monday, 10 a.m., 2025 in City Hall. Thank you.